is 9:31 at Classic Rock KQ. Jackson Brown, you're listening to the KQ Morning Show. Jason Manning, that'd be Scott Savage over there, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Without any further ado, we have a very special guest this morning. TV, stage, screen, I mean, the resume just goes on and on. It's very distinguished. He is one of the best to ever do it. John Lithgow joining us. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning. Great to talk to you.
It's wonderful to talk to you as well. Apparently, I'm told by my co-hosts that my icebreakers have not always been the best in the world, including when I had a chance to speak with President Clinton a couple of years ago. I opened up with how much running he still does, and he summarily just shot me down with a no. And then it got funny from there. So I'm told that my wife insists I need a new icebreaker. She goes, something that's not going to tick anybody off. So here's the new icebreaker, Mr. Lithgow. What'd you have for dinner last night?
Let's see now. What did I have for dinner last night? I actually had a dreadful supper that I cooked for myself. Just served chicken breasts that I'd left in the fridge for a day too long. I think I chucked the entire thing out. This is what happens when I come to New York by myself to do press and leave my wife back in Los Angeles. It's not that she cooks for me, but when I cook for her, I pay a lot more attention.
Well, we're glad you...
That's a long answer for your icebreaker.
That's all right. We're glad you're still here. Chicken is nothing to mess with, especially if it's gone a little bit too long.
Oh, God.
A best-selling author, I should probably throw that in there as well. Your brand new book, A Confederacy of Dumptys, Portraits of American Scoundrels in Verse, went on sale yesterday, I believe. And is the book, correct me if I'm wrong, the book has a very Shel Silverstein feel to it, if you're familiar with Shel Silverstein.
Oh, God, you couldn't have complimented me more. Yes, he's, as a matter of fact, he's very much my model. In my illustrations, he does a lot of things where a drawing goes from one page to the other. And that I stole completely from Shel Silverstein. I don't regard that as theft. I regard it as an homage.
Well, I mean, we grew up on his books, and that's the first thing I thought when I started reading through it. I'm like, this is just like, where the sidewalk ends, except obviously a little bit more biting in its content. But, that's the immediate impression I got. So in reading a few of the verses, because we live in the political climate we do right now, we try not to stir it up around here because all you're going to do is tick people off on one side or the other. I tried to find a couple of people universally hated. Let's start with Madoff's trade-off. I thought that was very, very well done.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, actually, I got to the end of the book, and I suddenly realized, wait a minute, I've left out Bernie Madoff. So that very much is a lazy poem. I simply rhymed Madoff about 5 times, and it was an afterthought. That was the little P.S., but I actually like it.
Leona Helmsley was another one that actually made me laugh aloud after I had read it. She was something else, boy.
Oh, she was great. The Queen of Mean. I did a reading just a couple of nights ago on Broadway, a single night, single show, just reading the poems. And those two in particular, those two and Roy M. Cohn, the real New York villains, they just went off like firecrackers. It was great. Because actually, I suspect many of the people in the audience had known all 3 of them personally.
You've been in everything, sir, and I'm always late to the TV watching party. I recently finished Dexter, and you've probably been sick and tired for 10 years being asked about Dexter, but I just want to say your role as the Trinity Killer was just flat out amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was delicious. Actually, I was invited to do a tiny little reprise. They're rebooting the series, and they've completed shooting on it. So I sneaked in and out of Boston. I was told never to say a word about being in the show, but then it was announced on Deadline a day after I worked on it.
Yeah, I thought I'd read you were going to be at least a small part of the new season. I was bummed when your character was off simply because you were such a great antagonist for Dexter's character. I wanted you to stick around for a while, but what are you going to do, right? You're not the writer.
Yeah, that while I did the show, it concluded an entire season of Dexter, and there was a great debate in the writers' room whether to keep him alive and keep him going in another season. But they decided to be ruthless, and they put an end to me, and probably a wise choice.
You're working with acclaimed director Martin Scorsese for the first time. I believe the upcoming film, I don't think it's out yet, Killers of the Flower Moon, is that still in production?
They finished shooting, but it won't be out for probably another year. It's a big, big Marty Scorsese epic, and it's going to be a magnificent film. I play a small role. Big roles are played by Bob De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. And it tells an extraordinary story. Actually, a story which, if I had known about it, it would have gone right into my book of villains. De Niro plays one of the great villains of American history that nobody's ever heard, William Hale.
Oh, okay. Well, we're looking forward to it. And I wanted to ask you, what's it like working for a guy like Martin Scorsese?
Oh, heaven. Absolutely heaven. You really feel like you're at the very heartbeat of the movie industry with Marty. And he's such a wonderful guy to work with. He's just so completely positive and happy to be there. And, he's, I think, a 78, 79-year-old man, but he's got the enthusiasm of a teenager. And it's infectious. And the scenes I did involved lots and lots of people. And, they were all so happy. They just felt so lucky to be there. It was a great experience.
We have time for one more question for you, sir. Out of everything that you have done, what do you think is the role you are most asked about or complimented on throughout your career?
Well, it usually is the most recent to have an impact. These days, it's probably Winston Churchill in The Crown, even though that was 3 or 4 years ago now. But, gosh, I wish I had a nickel for every time I've heard the phrase Trinity Killer. And Third Rock from the Sun. I would say those. But then, of course, there's World According to Garp. The first time people sort of spotted me in the movies. And Terms of Endearment, probably the best movie I was in, even if it was a small role. I've just given you 5 answers to one question.
That's all right. The new book, A Confederacy of Dumptys, Portraits of American Scoundrels in Verse, on sale everywhere. And if anything, after you read through your book, you're going to find yourself going to the dictionary quite a lot, because there are words in there, I'm going to be honest with you, sir, I've never heard before, and I had to look up, but that's actually good for me, so I appreciate it.
I urge your listeners to look up the phrase, her sign scrota, okay?
There you go.
I'll leave you with that.
I hope we just didn't get called into the office, but thank you. The great John Lithgow, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you so much. Great to talk to you.
You too. Bye-bye. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. That guy's been in everything.
And then some.
Yeah. There you go. John Lithgow, put that one in the books.